Episode 162 of Weighing In with Travis Hartman. I am B Money, the producer. That over there is the talent, Travis Hartman, aka Weekend Trav. We are back from Tampa, Florida, where we watched one Jake Paul knock out Mike Perry in the 6th round. Weekend Trav, here's the follow-up to the fight. Let's give the viewers and listeners at home your take on the fight. We'll talk the full event, the whole deal, but let's start with the main event first. Let's go Jake Paul knocking out Mike Perry, 6th round.
Tuah. Oh, sorry, my bad.
We'll get to her later. We'll get to her later, which we did meet. The Haley, whatever her last name, Hawk to a girl. We'll get to that. But let's talk main event of the Fear No Man event there by MVP there in Tampa, Florida, Amalie Arena. Jake Paul, Mike Perry.
Listen, Mike Perry's our boy. We were rooting hard for him. I'm going to have to give my expert opinion right now, and I don't want it to come across wrong, but I was rooting for Mike really hard, and I always say the fight's on, in the ring, not on paper. On paper, Jake was supposed to win, and Jake did what I thought he would do. Jake is better than most think, and even it's interesting. Mike said he was faster than he thinks. Here's what it is, though, and this is what I said. Mike said that in the ring. He's like, "Oh my!" He's like, "You were a lot faster than I was expecting." What that is this, and this is what I try to tell everybody. So Mike has fought bare knuckle fighters and UFC guys, and nobody's ever been able to knock Mike out, right? Boxers punch different. There's a snap on their punches, which makes it seem faster, but it's actually harder as well. And Mike got caught a couple of times. A couple of the knockdowns were what I call flash knockdowns. It caught him off guard, but it was right on the button. Put Mike down, Mike got right back up. But boxers punch different. And while I don't consider Jake Paul a true professional, he's not a fucking YouTuber anymore, man. Everybody's got to stop saying that because he's not. This kid actually knows how to fight a little bit. I'm not saying I still don't consider him in the top level of the pros at all. A top 50 cruiserweight beats this guy, and he does. Nobody's going to fight me on that one because I promise you, a top 50 cruiserweight beats Jake Paul pretty handily. Like our boy Chris Bill and Smith probably knocks Jake Paul out inside 5 rounds.
100%.
He's the cruiserweight champion of the world right now. He for sure does. Canelo Alvarez, who's 168 pounds, he decapitates Jake Paul. But I'm not trying to take disrespect at all away, but I'm just saying that Jake Paul's better than most think. And I've said this on the show, B Money, for a while. Here's how he beat Mike. He used his jab very well. The same thing we said on the show. I gave how I thought Jake Paul was going to win. And I said he was going to use his jab. He was going to measure him. He was going to keep his distance, and he's going to land a big right hand. It's exactly what he did. If Mike was going to beat him, Mike had to get on his chest. And unfortunately, Mike wasn't able to get on his chest because you know why? Jake Paul's pretty good with his distance control. He's learning the art of boxing, and that's what it is. Hit and not get hit, and that's what he did.
One massive advantage, and it was evident to see, the size advantage made a massive difference. Now, keep in mind, Jake Paul's cutting down to 200 pounds for this event because he was training to be heavyweight going against Mike Tyson, which, side note, I'm not interested in that fight at all at this point. But you had Jake Paul cutting weight down to 200. You had Mike Perry that came in and weighed 196 and a half, call it. Basically not cutting to that. He's, if anything, trying to beef up to that. He kind of walks around that weight. I'll be honest, we know him. Yeah. He kind of walks around about that weight anyways. So Jake, rehydrated and everything, looked enormous in the ring.
Yeah.
And when you do that, the size difference, I think there was probably a reach difference as well. I'm sorry. That's a complicated set of variables for anybody to go in. And to your point, the ways to win for Mike was to get into his chest, bully him. He couldn't get in there. He couldn't get in there because of that size differential. You talked about the jab. I talked about that he was going to try to lure Mike around the ring. 100% did that the entire time too. And that left Mike open to get some of these flash knockdowns. Because I think, so let's break it down a little bit. First round, body shot Mike took, cracked his rib. Is what Mike says. And that was early into the first round.
I got a video of that, and I don't know if we're allowed to post that because I'm getting banned over on our page right now, but I got a live video.
Our Instagram page, folks. If you're getting this on YouTube, our Instagram account, Weighing In with Travis Hartman, we're on a soft restriction right now until Saturday the 26th, so we can't really do, maybe it's Friday, so we can't really do anything with that account. I guess we can't post our own footage of an event.
that we were
Crazy.
at live. So I'm definitely going to
Crazy.
appeal it. But I did see the punch that caught Mike because Mike, and this is why people don't realize how Jake Paul's pretty good, man. Early on, Mike had his hands up really high. Okay, he was trying to guard that left up high so he didn't catch that right hand or catch that hook, and he had his hands up really high. And Jake Paul jabbed and threw a right hook to the body because Mike was trying to cover up the
Yep.
head. But then guess what happened later on in that round? Mike's hands went down a little bit. Boom, comes over top of the right hand. I have a
It-
video of me recording that as well in the second round, I think it was. And I'm recording, and Mike starts dropping his left hand. And I said, Mike, get your left hand up. He's going to throw a right hand. 2 seconds
yeah.
later, he throws a right hand and drops Mike. And I was like,
Yeah. I think
Jake sets it up.
his first getting this first knockdown, it seemed more of just kind of a, like you said, kind of a flash knockdown. It was almost
Mhm.
like kind of like pushed over. It wasn't something I thought his bell got rung or anything like that. But you could see it later on. I mean, he got dropped what, 3 times in the whole thing.
Yep. Third and final one.
Yeah. Disappointing. Listen, we were rooting for Mike hard. Our heart was definitely your mind, and no disrespect at all. Your mind kind of says other things, laying out kind of the keys to victory, like we did in the last episode on episode 161. You can catch that there on YouTube and wherever else. Disappointing overall. Obviously, we wanted to see a better outcome or a better outcome for our friend. I was
Mhm.
happy that it went to the length it did. My concern anytime Jake Paul fights these undersized guys compared to him in the MMA ranks, not direct boxing training, have other disciplines they're working on, Mike bare knuckle discipline, which is different. It's 100% different. In the interview we had with Mike Perry, he talks about those differences on how he trains bare knuckle versus boxing. So there is a stark difference to that.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, our concern going in, you and I talked about this, was I really hope it's not going to be one of these first or second round things, and I really hope it's not going to be, one of these things that's floating around the internet and it's going to be
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
meme, Nate Robinson or anything like that. You know what I mean? And it ended up
Yeah.
being okay. It ended up being not the right result we wanted, but he went to the
Yeah.
sixth. Mm,
But you know what? Like I wasn't disappointed in Mike's performance. I thought he showed how tough he truly was because he did go down a couple times, but every single time he went down, he got up. Even the last time, the third time he went down, he got up. He just
yeah.
stumbled, and the referee made the right call. That was not a bad call. But Mike is just tough, and I think he proved, as he's proved over and over again in his career, he's too tough sometimes.
The only thing I would have loved to see is the ability to put more offense out there. And I know, just given the variables, it just couldn't happen. So I'm not trying to dog anybody here, but it would have been nice to see Mike be able to, in the third round. He had the third round. I scored him getting the third round.
100%. We
Because
talked. That's the round I posted on Instagram and
yeah,
got
he
banned for because he won that
finally,
round.
yeah, well, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
He finally was able to put a little bit of offense together, turning Jake around. He was actually controlling the ring a bit too, and then things changed in the fourth. All of a sudden, it was just kind of what happened. What happened to what we were seeing in the third? Maybe fatigue kind of set in there too. I don't know. I don't know. We can
I
trav.
think I think it was Jake Paul's jab, man. Jake Paul
It
does have
was
a
that was
really good
big.
jab, and I
That was
think his
big.
jab got back on rhythm. Like Mike had a really good third round, comes out, it's like, you know what? I'm going to bully him around. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to push him on the ropes, going to land big shots. And then Jake was like, no, you're not. Boom, move, and that's what he did. And so listen, I'm at least I haven't heard Mike say anything about the size yet. I heard his coach say it, but I don't accept that at all. Meaning
Mm-mm.
they knew going in. This wasn't anything different or new. They knew going in. He was up to 225. He already talked about it because he was training for Tyson. Paul normally is like 190, 195, though. He beefed up for the Mike Tyson fight, but that could have hampered him as well by coming down. But I just don't take that as anything because we knew going in, we knew Jake Paul was bigger, had a longer reach. We knew that he was taller than Mike. Mike's 5'10, 5'10 and a half. Jake Paul 6'1, 6'2. His reach was longer. So I don't like that coming back now and saying something about the size. I think they knew the size. We go in, we fight. He was bigger. Yes, we knew that. I don't think it's fair to now go back and use that, though, as something that against Jake Paul necessarily.
Well,
I'm just like, they knew that going in.
it's not coming out of Mike's mouth. For
Yeah.
people like us, as we examine these after the fact, it's going to be it's going to be a factor. It's going to be a factor in the outcome. I mean, there's no way around it. That
For
definitely
sure, we could talk about being a
impacted.
factor. I just don't like it as an excuse. As
No,
a
no, no, no.
factor, it was 100% correct. The size difference, it ultimately did matter for
No,
sure.
here's
That's the truth, but I don't like it as an
no,
excuse.
no, no, no. I'm saying here's why Jake won. To your point, he jabbed well. He had Mike chase him, left him open for a lot of shots,
Use this
but he was
size.
also a lot bigger. And when you get hit in the same spot from a bigger guy like that in the same spot in your face 5, 6 times, it's gonna add up and it's gonna put you on your butt. And that's what we saw.
Yeah. You know what? Mike's face was bloodied and beat up too because he got hit. But remember in the third round, he bloodied up Jake Paul's left eye.
Yeah.
So he must have hit Jake Paul with the right hand. It was pretty big because I was in the crowd. I was on this side. As soon as it happened, I was like, oh, crap. I was like,
Yeah.
it's the third round. Like Mike bloodied him. Like, oh my gosh, let's go.
The naysayers will say, hey, Mike went off script. He wasn't supposed to do that.
Oh my goodness.
You're gonna
Oh my
there's a lot of
goodness.
that going around right now.
Is there
And
really?
oh yeah, yeah. And people are snapping little pieces of the fight, say, see, here's where Jake turned his glove. He does with all of them. I'm sorry, folks. Mike's not the kind of guy that's going to do that, take a fall for money. Yeah, maybe some of the other guys in the past did. I don't know. That's up for debate, but this one was legit. Mike's face was swollen up. Sure,
Listen,
he
if
didn't
he
look he didn't look like his normal self, but I'll push back on when people say that Mike goes in on guys and his head is his defense, not moving his head, taking shots. That's every fight. That's since I've watched him from the MMA ranks all the way up, local to UFC to now bare knuckle. That's always been his defense is just, I'm going to eat more than you can dish. And then I'm going to get into a good position to kill you. That's his thing. It
yeah.
doesn't work in a boxing ring. We know that, and that's kind of what we
I
saw.
mean, it doesn't. You need some finesse. You need a jab. You need a head movement, and that's one thing that I've said about Mike for a while is just look at his bare knuckle fighting. Look at his UFC fighting. Mike's defense hasn't always been there. His defense has been his head, and Michael say that. Mike's like, I like to eat punches, but I'm
Yeah,
like,
he says he loves it. He
yeah,
loves
when
it.
you're in the boxing ring, you can love it all you want, but if the other guy actually knows how to fight a little bit, those punches add up.
They do,
He went 6 3-minute rounds. Okay. That's
especially
18 minutes. That's longer than any of his UFC fights or bare knuckle fights.
especially if within the first 30 seconds you already possibly cracked a rib. That's going to change
Yeah.
everything right there. That being said, Jake Paul takes down Mike Perry here in Tampa, Florida, and we were fortunate and blessed to be there. Weekend travel was on the floor. I was not too far away, just a few rows up in a
Sold out
section.
crowd, man.
It was sold out. So we are not blowing
Jake Paul
smoke,
brings
folks.
them.
We are not blowing smoke. Sitting where I was sitting, I looked everywhere. I videoed it too. There were people all the way to the rafters filled. Okay. And they were there sitting before the main event. They were sitting there during the Serrano fight, which that helped sell too. I mean, Amanda Serrano taking down somebody very easily. So it was a very good show. Interesting crowd. I want to make mention of this weekend Trav. It wasn't a typical boxing crowd, I don't think. I mean, maybe half the arena was, but the other
Yeah.
half, a lot of broccoli haircuts, um, a lot of people having a simp behind them filming them walking down the stairs to post stuff online. Like that happened right next to me. I was like, this is silly.
Lots
Just
of
a
influencers in their natural habitat.
quote unquote influencers, just I don't know what to make of this World Weekend, Trav. It is an interesting one. Speaking of influencers that was there, we'll get back to some of the fights too, but you mentioned it. The Hawk Tua girl was there, but we ran into her in our hotel prior. We were there in the lobby. We were having a few cold ones there, with some
With
friends
our
and
boy Papa Price, the
shout out
box
to Brian
father.
Price, the box father, amongst others, including, my friend Franco and some of Brian's sons and a bunch of other people. Anyways, we were there and I look over before you had come down into the lobby. I look over, I'm like, and a dude was taking a photo with this skinny little blonde girl. I'm like, and I was like, that doesn't look like a fighter or a fighter's wife or girlfriend or anything, just kind of knowing the event. And she was only there with like one girlfriend and a bigger, maybe a
Not a big
security guard.
entourage, dude. I think
No,
it's a
just one.
manager.
It was a manager or bodyguard or both, and a girlfriend and her. And I look over, I'm like, guys, I think that's that one Hawk Tua girl, Haley something or other. You know her name. I said, and then I saw her smile. She has one eye that kind of like does that.
I noticed that at the fights when she was
That's
with
her
Jake
smiling.
Paul.
This is her. Tuah. That's her.
Was that after she'd been drinking a little bit though?
No, that's just her.
Okay.
So I said, I think that's that girl. So I walked up, and I was very cordial. I was like, hey, I was wondering if I can get a photo with you, before kind of things get nuts for you, today, and everyone starts recognizing who you are. She's like, oh, absolutely. She was super sweet, very unpretentious, not what you would think. She was very just kind of nice and sweet, and took the photo. And then you came down too, and we're gonna hopefully I'll remember to put them up, the
Yeah.
photos and stuff. So
B
you
Money
did.
sends this to me, and I'm like, what? That's her hair was blonde, and you couldn't tell because her hair doesn't look like that other.
Yeah,
I was
well,
like,
she had a hat. She
that's
had a hat
her.
on. She had
Yeah,
a hat on.
just her roots or whatever were sticking out.
And now it's confirmed, because there's some other social media posts going on about like before when she was shopping at the mall, same outfit. And I think one of the guys for MVP was there. They're making fun of his Riz, whatever the little kids are calling it, the Riz, the lack of Riz.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either. So, anyways, so that's her. You should see it on the screen.
Hawk
Hmm.
Tuah. She was sitting like 2 or 3 seats right in front of
Yeah,
me. So
yeah.
you know what's really cool though, and this is why you could tell she's also newly into this scene is every single person because we're on the floor, so obviously you had to have tickets to get on the floor, but still every single person that came up to her, man, she was taking pictures with everybody.
Yeah.
She did not seem snooty or rude about it. She was laughing, she was giggling. Some influencers came up to her and played some games. Some guy lost a bet, had to get a tattoo because he lost a bet. She guessed the Sour Patch color. And I can tell you, anybody watching, it's called Handshake Bets, is their Instagram handle. I was watching this happen and he had Sour Patch Kids, right? Everybody's like, well, they probably all were red in there. And I seen it. They were not. It was assorted colors.
Yeah.
He gave it to her. He's like, if you guess the color, I will get it. And she pulled out, she goes, red. And he said, okay, go ahead. She pulled out a freaking red. And I think he even like shit his pants a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's doing it.
But he did it. No, he did
Oh,
it.
he
He
did
posted
it.
it. It's
How cool is that?
Listen, I know this
Well,
is
how
not
cool or
boxing.
different?
I know it's not boxing related, but good for her. She's enjoying her 15 minutes. There's no shame in that. Maybe the way she got the 15 minutes made it a little shameful, but at least she's not doing anything.
But she didn't do the Hawk Tuah on camera. She just said Hawk. Doesn't mean she did it.
Well,
She could have heard it somewhere. I don't know that she does that. She's got a grandma that she takes care of and lives with, and
but
this grandma wants to know how this happens.
so
Like, grandma,
funny.
we're in a recession. Chill out.
So funny mention here. I posted that on my Instagram page at Gulfstream Financial on Instagram. And my nephew's wife commented back. They live in Tennessee, and she's like, "That's so funny. That girl actually is from our little town that we live in." I'm like, "Oh,
Oh,
look, this is a
cool.
small world. Literally
What
a
a
small world."
small world, dude.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. Hey, there you go. So shout out to what's her name again?
Haley Welch, Hawk Tuah girl.
There you go. Well, it's
So
pleasure meeting her for 5-10 seconds. And so full transparency, I sent that photo to my spouse first, because we send those reels back and forth, the joke
Yeah.
reels that it goes hawk to right into like a music video or something like that, or a song. And she says, "Oh my gosh, no way!" And she wanted me to talk to her about like their art studio business stuff. I'm like, babe, I'm like, what do you think I'm doing? Is sitting down drinking with her? This is an 8-second interaction. Come on, come on.
I'm pretty sure your wife texted my wife as well.
And I'm
It was
thinking,
funny. It was funny though.
I'm thinking, look at me. I got no Riz. What is Riz? I'm pretty sure I don't have any, but what is it? I don't have it.
Cap.
I have a. Is that something?
Yeah,
Who's
that's
bussin'? What's bussin' mean?
I don't know, dude. We're old,
I
but
need broccoli hair. I need the broccoli haircut. Like all these guys that were at this fight, dragging or being simps for these girls that are influencers. It was a silly crowd.
this is
Weekend
the
trap.
perfect example, though. What I want to talk about real quick is about Jake Paul and the influence that he's had on boxing. When I got there, like you said, you look around, you're like, this is a different crowd. But you know what it was? It was a younger crowd.
It 100% was, folks.
Okay.
100%.
So what people don't realize is boxing is very traditional,
Like
right?
20-year-olds. We're not saying they're like 10-year-olds. They were
Yeah,
like
exactly.
20s.
You're talking 100%. And not, we're in our 40s now, though. So we're obviously 20s is young.
Dirt.
But I think what he's doing is still the people that he B Money. He's not only bringing out the young crowd, he's bringing out the older crowd too. Hulk Hogan was 7 rows in front of me. The boxers like Shane Mosley was there, Antonio Tarver was there.
Yep.
You had um, the former Jake Paul opponents as well, who knocked out Tyron Woodley.
He
You
was
had
there.
a
Yep.
lot. Schmo was there. You're talking about all these influencers, all these podcast guys. The also,
Alex Nicholson was there. Shout out Alex Nicholson.
what up, Alex Spartan? Also, I forget the guy's name. It's the Shark Tank guy. He sat right in front of us too.
Oh yeah, you sent me that.
He sat right behind the Hawk Tuah girl, actually. Oh my
DC
gosh, I forgot his
Drano.
name.
DC Drano's there.
DC Drano.
That's probably why we got banned from Instagram.
Madison Cawthorn was the youngest Republican ever elected to Congress in a wheelchair. He was sitting over by DC Drano as well. He also didn't get reelected, but he was the youngest to get elected
Yep.
to Congress. He was there. So there was a lot of influencers there. There was a lot of people, but there was a wide range of people. Like we were there. Our buddies Lou and Frankie were there. Ryan Keenan were there and they're all our age. And
Yep.
we all went to watch this, mainly because we were supporting Mike Perry, obviously, because Mike Perry's our boy. Mike Perry, shout out. We still love you, brother.
Absolutely.
But that's just the crowds that he brings out. People keep telling me how bad he is for boxing and all this other garbage. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're watching. If you don't like the kid, just say that. That's fine. But don't start telling me all this other garbage stuff. The kid's bad for boxing. He's putting people on a platform like, obviously, Mike Perry got this platform because of a guy like Jake Paul. Amanda Serrano got this platform because of Jake Paul. Ashton Sylve, who got knocked out in a massive one, he got this. He's alive. He got this because of him. Also, our boy Corey Marksman and Tony Aguilar, who are now our weighing in with Travis Hartman alumnus, they both got this opportunity to fight on a massive card where they could have picked anybody to fight, and they chose these guys. So
great local
let's
matchup.
be honest. It was a great local matchup.
Side note, congratulations, Corey Marksman taking down Tony Aguilar as well.
In the
I think that was
rematch.
split decision, right? Split
It
decision.
was a majority decision.
Majority decision. One was a draw. Yep.
Yep. It was 76-76, and then the other two went to the Marksman.
Yep.
And great fight. It was an 8-rounder. The first one was a 6-rounder. It was a great fight. We have massive respect for Tony Aguilar. We have massive respect for Corey Marksman. Corey, thanks for coming on the show.
It was
Check our podcast out.
It was a well sold show. I don't know how the pay-per-view draw is going to be, but the live gate was exactly what they wanted. It was a sold out show, and once again, not blowing smoke. There were people all the way to the rafters. The fights themselves were sound. They're very good. Amanda Serrano, anytime you can see her fight, which she is, in my opinion, the GOAT. I know Clarissa Shields took some exception to that after the fight, using that term, whatever.
It's the greatest woman of all time. You call guys market that.
You call every stupid basketball player the GOAT, and you call every female athlete that's great the GOAT. Come on, give me a break. I
call every freaking boxer the GOAT. I even called Andy Ruiz the GOAT, even though
I think
Frankie would.
I gave you a hard time over that.
Listen, I didn't mean he was the actual GOAT, but again, the name is not assigned to one person.
Listen, and on top of it, I did want to point this out. This event was perfectly timed and made a lot of sense, not only for Jake Paul, but for Mike Perry. That's why I think this came to fruition when it did, because it helped Jake Paul sell the W brand spray deodorant, which I make fun of because I got sprayed with that crap in the upstairs by the concessions. Like, I didn't want that. Don't spray my elbow with that stink. Well, it just smelled like a body spray. Anyways, so he's selling that at Walmart. Perfect timing, because that's where you saw everywhere was that W, and you saw the stupid mascot and everything else. Mike Perry then also introducing, which he discussed with us months ago, that they were looking into this, the Dirty Boxing Fight League. So it was just the perfect time frame to promote these things for both fighters. Irregardless of the result of the main event, it was perfectly timed business-wise for these guys. This event, my opinion, it wasn't about just the pugilism and the fights. This was a marketing event, and we all bought into it, and we all went gracefully into it and smiling all the way through, and we left the arena satisfied, not the result, but satisfied from a good show and a good event. Good job on the business side.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Mike Perry for the Dirty Boxing League. Shout out to Mike Perry for making business moves. Shout out to Mike Perry for making gritty moves inside the ring, inside the octagon, inside whatever thing he steps in, whatever gladiator battlegrounds this man steps into. He's also now making money moves and business moves. So shout out to Dirty Boxing. I'm curious of what's going to happen. I don't know. It
Oh,
sounded like I'm pretty curious. I want to see it.
and shout out to him, putting Conor McGregor in his place, saying, "No, I'm a co-owner of BKFC as well. You can't fire me. What are you talking about?
I mean,
Stupid."
it's just Conor
Conor
McGregor
McGregor,
talking shit per usual.
Conor McGregor, bloody nose.
Shout out to Mike Perry for calling out a coked out Conor McGregor in the ring to do a face off.
Anyways,
Per per Mike Perry after he beat Luke Rockhold.
um, the one thing I did want to mention about this event, we can travel, maybe we can move on from there, is one Lucas Bahdi, knockout of the year candidate. This was nasty. Taking down
Yep.
Ashton
Yep.
Sylve,
Yeah.
who was the favored fighter, part
Undefeated.
of part of the
Undefeated.
MVP stable of fighters. Oh my gosh, what round was that? It was sixth round or fifth round? I
Yep. It
can't.
was a 6 round. I think, and it was Ashton Sylve, I believe, was the first guy that Jake Paul ever signed to his most
Yeah,
valuable promotion. So this kid was like, obviously they put a lot of stock into him, and he was doing well. He fought a really good guy, undefeated guy, and he was doing well, B
it was
Money.
okay.
And
I
then
mean, the fight up to that point was okay. It was kind of, in
it
my
wasn't
opinion,
exciting, but
no.
he was winning, is all I meant by that. He was winning
But
pretty competitively.
he ate a right hook clean. He was knocked out at that point. And then
Yeah.
the left hook came in and basically
Yeah.
took his soul. And
Yeah.
he was on the canvas, face first, butt up in the air for a good minute. Kind of at a certain point, kind of scary when a
It
fighter's
was,
like that.
I got up out of my seat. I was in like row 8 and I got up and I walked all the way to the ring and I'm recording and he wasn't moving. And I
Yeah,
legit started saying little prayers in my head. I'm just
yeah,
like, bro, I hope this kid's okay. He wasn't moving,
yeah,
dude. I was
yeah.
like, oh, and then finally he did move, and I was like, oh my, he got that was a Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez fight. Their last time they fought, Marquez knocked out Manny Pacquiao with a counter right hand, and he fell face first and didn't move, and neither
So
did Ashton Sylve.
and thankfully it seems like he was okay. He came out later and he was out walking around on the floor later on. I think right before the main event. So he seemed to be at least okay at that point. I'm sure he wasn't feeling great later on and that next day, maybe still today. But so it was nasty. So folks, if you haven't seen that knockout, look it up. Ashton H2O Sylvie, Lucas Bahdi, who's from Canada. And we saw him at I guess his after party
Yeah, it
briefly.
was a
So
crazy place, the Weston.
I tell you,
I have to give a quick shout out because I saw Shane Mosley Jr. there with
mm,
his dad, Shane Mosley,
mhm.
and Shane Mosley Jr. has now committed to me 100% in person as well as Instagram. He's coming on the podcast, so stay tuned next week. We will have Shane Mosley Jr. on an In This Corner segment after his huge win over Daniel Jacobs. Anybody knows Daniel Jacobs? Daniel Jacobs almost beat Canelo Alvarez. Watch that fight. Shane Mosley Jr. beat him. Also, there was a cool face-off between Antonio Tarver Jr. and Shane Mosley Jr. It was kind of all fun and games. They did a face-off on the floor there, and Antonio Tarver Sr., Shane Mosley Sr. was there, and both of their juniors were there, did a face-off. They're both undefeated pro boxers as well.
This speaks to the crowd once again. So at one point, so this is after you had already talked to Antonio Tarver because I could see you. I could see you doing all your thing. At one point later, because everyone from the floor had to come up by us in order to get out
Yeah,
to
to
the
get
concessions.
alcohol.
And so at one point, I look over and Tarver was coming back down. Nobody said anything, knew who he was, nobody. And I looked over, I'm like, hey Tarver, how's it going? He kind of gives me a smile, give me one of those, and kept walking. So I was like, nobody, no broccoli haired kid around here knows who the hell that is. Don't
Only knocked out the greatest fighter of our generation for our
Rocky
Jones
Balboa.
Jr.
Oh,
Yeah, he was also in Rocky Balboa.
oh yeah. Oh. We can travel. Let's move on from this event. Had a great time, had a blast with you and everybody else. It was an overall great time. So I'm happy that we went out there and supported Mike Perry. Look forward to the next opportunity to do so. But let's move on to the rumor mill briefly, okay? Because rumors are rumors, and now it's being rumored Canelo
Again,
Alvarez, Edgar Berlanga. My question to you: Why?
It's gonna sound bad, but Canelo wants an easy fight.
Yeah.
I'm
It,
sorry. I'm
it's
sorry.
rumored.
Anybody watching, they know.
I
It
know.
is.
I know.
I said the whole time, I said, if Canelo chooses Berlanga for September, listen, everybody shut up with the ducking, though. He was never going to fight David Benavidez in September. He was always going to fight David Benavidez on Cinco de Mayo weekend. Two Mexicans fight Cinco de Mayo.
Maybe.
That's if it doesn't happen this May, then we can call it a duck. I'm on board with that now. But September was never going to be Benavidez. It was always going to be somebody who Canelo was gonna beat essentially. So it was either gonna be Chris Eubanks Jr., Edgar Berlanga, who knows who else. But I always said it in our little fight chat group. I always said it. If he chooses Berlanga, he wants an easy fight. He's gonna get
So,
a knockout.
so to the Benavidez side of things, if Benavidez puts on a performance like he did most recently, do we still want to talk about this fight? Do we want to still talk about the potential? I would more or less rather push for Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez on Cinco de
I'm in
Mayo
for
next
that.
year.
I'm in for that, dude.
Forget
hundred
David
percent.
Benavidez. Forget that.
Agreed. Agreed.
I
I
don't
think
think
that's a better
anyone would
fight.
complain. Are we going to say that he's ducking Benavidez if he commits to that? No.
Well, so the Benavidez fans will, but yeah,
How
listen,
many fans can that guy
Benavidez
have
is gonna
compared to
have
those
to.
two?
Yeah, not very many. I don't think Benavidez is going to have another fight as well, right?
Yeah.
Because Canelo's fighting in September, which means Benavidez is going to have to fight around that time too. He does, to be honest, he does need to impress because his last fight was very lackluster. He moved to weight, trying to do whatever he was trying to do at light heavyweight. So he needs to have a top opponent at 168, make something massive happen, make us all want that Canelo fight even more because
Yeah.
I have not been on board with Canelo ducking David Benavidez yet because I think Canelo's choice of opponents has been he's got a Hall of Fame resume. The dude doesn't duck people. He does fight everybody.
Yeah.
So, but if Benavidez somehow wins in a pretty decent fashion, he doesn't have to go crazy, but if he wins in a pretty good fashion like he normally does fight, then I will come on this show and I will call for a David Benavidez versus Canelo or the runner up or even the front runner. I'll take Crawford versus Canelo
Yeah.
any day of
I
the
mean,
week. That fight's super interesting.
listen, some guys just don't move up and weight well. I mean, I think maybe that's just what we saw from Benavidez. It kind of reminds me of Teofimo Lopez.
Yep.
Moving up in weight hasn't really brought the success you would think. It just doesn't, the strength and the power doesn't pan out. Anyways, we'll see. But yeah, so far the rumor mill is that Canelo and Berlanga. We'll see. It's not confirmed, but it's rumored. And yeah, I mean, what do you say about that? What do you say? There's not much to say. My question is, who do you think wins between Berlanga and Jake Paul? Two guys swinging for the fences.
Well, I don't want to disrespect Berlanga anymore because I think Berlanga should beat Jake Paul.
You would think, you would hope.
Right? Yes.
I
So
would. I would hope so. I
I
would hope.
think that Berlanga beats a Jake Paul, which is also why Jake Paul probably won't do that fight.
Oh, and
Just like somebody tagged Andre Ward in a thing because Andre Ward's been back and he was sparring with Crawford, and
yeah,
they were like, "You need to fight Jake Paul," and Andre Ward goes, "Jake Paul will never mention my name,
yeah.
and he will not, and
And you
he's
know what?
smart not to."
Fine, fine. If he's getting money, he's making so much money. Like, it's okay. Are
He's,
we? Is everyone going to really be that mad at this that he's not going to fight a real person?
Jake Paul's 10 pro fights in. What people don't talk about, and I keep having to update people, is yes, Jake Paul has fought ex UFC fighters, but Jake Paul also fought a real boxer and he lost. That was Tommy Fury.
Yeah,
Right after Tommy
he's not
Fury,
very
he
good.
fought two real boxers with 10-0 winning records, 17-2 records. But I'm just saying he still did that. He's fought three real boxers now. Everybody forgets that because he
Yeah.
dispatched them pretty easily, but he did. All he's doing in his first 10 fights is what every other well-known professional boxer has done, except Jake Paul has done it better. Jake Paul's first 10
Well,
fights, he's made more money. What I mean by better is he's made more money than
sure.
Crawford, than Canelo, than Floyd Mayweather, than Chavez, than any of the other big names you want to talk about. Jake
Well,
Paul has made more money in his first 10 fights than any of those guys combined.
it does help to have a big money machine behind you though. That he no lie. I mean, the Paul brothers did create, okay? So it does
They
help to
created
have
it,
that.
yeah.
It does help to have that to start
100%.
with rather than a lot of
100%.
these guys starting. And you know what? It does help to pad the initial record with some over out overaged, undersized opponents from a different combat sport. It does help,
Yep. It
you
for
know.
sure it does.
But then listen, the neutralizer was Tommy Fury, which we give Tommy Fury grief because he's really not that great.
He's
But
not.
he's trained his whole life. And what did you see? He dismantled him the whole fight.
Yep.
That's why would Jake want to fight another person like that? Of course not.
He's not doing anything that different though, man. All the other guys coming up their first 10 fights, they fight guys they're supposed to beat. That's it.
Sure, sure, sure.
All of them do it. You want to look at it? I say it all the time. Canelo Alvarez is like 9th pro fight. He fought a guy that was like 1-12. Chavez, Papa Chavez, Julio Cesar
Okay.
Chavez was 50 something and 0, and he fought an 0 and
So
12
now,
guy.
so now
Nobody
that
said anything
so
about that.
now
He's a
that
world
Jake is
champion.
so now that Jake is what 10-1.
I think so. Yep.
So now, are we done with the benefit of the doubt on that? I mean, that's 11
Well,
fights in.
usually, think about this though. Usually it's about 15. It's 10 to 15. It depends.
Okay.
Teofimo Lopez didn't fight his toughest fight until his 14th fight, which is Lomachenko, which is that's a big jump. But I think Paul still has a couple more fights under his belt to where he can call out some UFC
So are we
guys like
gonna
Alex
care?
Pereira.
Are we gonna care? Same thing. It's like the mixed
Yeah,
discipline. I don't care if he's a
I get
killer in
it.
a cage, but are we
Listen,
gonna care if he goes to 11-1 because he fought a 60-year-old Mike Tyson?
no, not at all.
No.
That's what I'm saying. When I'm not defending Jake Paul. I'm just letting people know that what he's doing is not that abnormal. Will Jake Paul ever be a world champion like the Canelos, the Mayweathers, the Chavezes, who all built their career like Jake Paul's building? Okay. They fought guys who they were supposed to beat their first 15
Sure.
fights.
Sure.
So Paul's not doing anything different than they did. But the only opposite end of that is no, my personal opinion is I don't think Jake Paul's going to be a world champion. No. Floyd Mayweather, yeah. Canelo Alvarez, yeah. Julio Cesar Chavez, yeah. Hall of Famers. And when I do the comparison, I'm not saying that Paul is on their level. I'm just saying they built their careers the same way and nobody ever thought to give them grief because you know why? They didn't know how to promote themselves their first 10 to 15 fights.
Sure.
Jake Paul figured it out. Like he's making $10 million by fighting taxi cab drivers and retired UFC guys.
Yeah.
Chavez did it too.
I know. Just different with that many eyeballs, I guess. And in today's day and age, everyone's critical on social media and blah, blah,
Everybody's
blah.
an
Anyways,
expert.
everybody's an expert. That's the best way to put it. And probably close this thing out. Episode 162 of Weighing In with Travis Hartman. If you have yet to subscribe to our content on YouTube, Rumble, the audio stuff on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere else you get your audio podcast, we should be out there. If we're not, let us know. Subscribe below. Give us a thumb up on the video clip. That helps our numbers and metrics and algorithms, and especially because our Instagram account at Wayne and Travis Hartman seems and appears to be restricted right now. We're in appeal. Stupid. Anyways, so we can Trav. Quick final thought. What do you got?
I've been doing pretty good with our podcast page, our Instagram podcast page, but we've come across a little hiccup. So please bear with us. Our page is growing. Give us a like over there on our YouTube page. Give us a follow. Give us a share. We appreciate all of it.
A follow would be great.
A follow is amazing. A subscription. Subscribe to us. It's all free. We're giving you guys all of this content for free. We don't make money on this. We weren't even making money on our Instagram page. We're not even monetized either, guys. So we do this because we love it. We love to give a platform to other people. So help us out. Give us a share. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Give us a comment even if it's a bad comment. Go check out some of our YouTube pages. We got some really cool guys on there. Are in this corner. We said 2 of them. Tony Aguilar, a young up-and-comer who's promoted by Christy Martin. Corey Marksman, undefeated up-and-comer at 135. This kid can fight from Florida. Come check these guys out. We're about to have Shane Mosley Jr. on the podcast. We've had Terrence Crawford. We've had Mike Perry. We've had all these guys. Chris Smith, world champions. So give us a follow. Give us more reason and keep putting content out there. BJ Flores, who was also at the fight too. But final thoughts are appreciate everything you guys do for us. Appreciate B Money for putting all this product out as well. But it was a fun time. I'm glad to share that with you. And I can't wait to start getting back to the Crib Royale shows that are like 10 minutes from our house.
Yeah,
so
there's one this weekend
Box
too,
Lab, we love you guys. There is on Friday, Box Lab. There is a show on Friday at Crib Royale. Go check them out because it's worth the money. It's worth the price of admission. Carib Royale, Box Lab Promotions, they put on quality shows. They were a co-promoter of the Jake Paul, Mike Perry over there in Tampa on pay-per-view DAZN. So we
But
love you
check this one
guys.
out this Friday, Box Lab. They're at the Carib Royale. Check them out. They always put on quality shows, and we are 100% on board with those guys. I look forward to getting on site there again with you. So we need to make that happen very, 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 very soon. Weekend Trav, I appreciate your time. And that's that. That is that. Episode 162 in the books. That over there is the talent, Travis Hartman, a.k.a. Weekend Trav.
That there is B Money, aka the producer, the man, the myth, the legend, the man that makes this content go round.
Tuah! That's it.
We're stupid.
Yeah.
It's hot as fuck up here under these
Hot
lights,
up here
dude.
too.